5, March 4th, 2024. I'm going to call this special meeting to order at Peru City Hall Council Chambers. We have a couple of things in the agenda to discuss during this special meeting. First is the additional appropriation resolution 2-2024. Kurt, you have an explanation for that?
Yeah, we talked about that last month in the February meeting. And it was two things. One of them was because of the rank changes over at the fire department, we ended up with 5 captains, and we only had budget for 3 captains. So even though they're the rank of private, they're being paid at the rank of captain because they can't go back below their previous rank until they retire. So we had to allocate another $92.86 for the 2 individuals who are retiring this year, but they went back from chief and another spot, and so we didn't have enough money in the budget for that. So that's what that is. The $50,000, we talked about that last month. Captain Bill Raber is retiring from the police department as of last week. On the 29th was his last day. But there are things that only he knows how to do at the police department, and so the Board of Works signed a contract with him to pay him $50,000 for the remainder of the year, be $5,000 a month, to come on, continue to do what he does, and train a replacement. So those are, and we had talked about that in the February meeting. We considered it. So I have to have a public meeting now, and then it'll come back when we start our regular meeting at 6 o'clock for adoption.
Any discussion by the council?
I move to adopt resolution.
No, we can't do that yet.
We just
we're
have
gonna do
an
that at
open
6
discussion.
Oh, we have an open discussion.
And we'll come to that then after we start the 6 o'clock meeting.
I want to see if there's any discussion by the council first regarding this. If not, we'll open up to public. Any discussion by the public regarding this? If not, we'll go on to the next item for the special meeting. Ordinance 2-2024 and ordinance to amend ordinance 10-2019. And this has to do with adjusting the fee schedule, fee structure for approved police department reports, videos, etc.
Okay, thank you.
I can elaborate on that, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Under Indiana Code, we are allowed to charge for cost related to public access, such as copies, photocopies. Our previous ordinance does not allow for colored copies, or does not spell any difference in the cost in colored copies. That is included in there. The administrative cost is included in there for those copying fees as well, and also an adjustment to the law enforcement recording, so body camera footage. Public access counselor has issued continual opinions changing the fee structures and how municipalities can charge those fees for the law enforcement videos. So I'm trying to get more in line with those.
Questions, discussion from the council?
The fees are in your packet. They'll be under ordinance 2024. It was advertised. If you want to see the details of it, it's in your packet there.
Dustin, I had a comment, Mayor, if I could.
Sure.
Is this applicable for the entire year, or temporary, or
Oh, this is until changed by the council.
until you change, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Any discussion by the public?
So now we sit here for 11 and a half minutes until 6 o'clock. We have to have a 15-minute meeting, and then you can adjourn this public meeting and go on to the regular meeting.
Thank you.
I will note on the public records request, one thing we added in there would be that fees should be paid in advance One problem we've had historically is someone will come and do a public records request, realize that, oh, it's gonna be $30, $40 in printouts, and then they do not want to pay for it. So to circumvent that and to actually recoup our costs, they'll have to pay at least an estimated cost up front based on what we predict it will be. And if there's a refund, they'll get that back at the time, or they'll pay the additional at the end.
I was surprised because I know we talked about this basically the last meeting, so I thought that discussion had already taken place.
That was when we just considered. Now it's gotta be, it's gotta have to be shown. And that's because with their time talking this week, and then we actually can adopt it the next. There's something that we can consider adopting the same meeting, but not a different one. When it comes to money, it's not a consider adopting the same meeting. Burning.
How you been doing?
I'm doing really well with all the medicine, but like my eyes for the last like month, puffy. They said it's a side effect from the chemo, which if that's all I get, I'm all right. But it's like all the time I have to go, there's sand. I thought it was allergies, but I went right to the doctor. He's like, no, that's side effects of this kind of chemo.
Oh, hello there.
It's gonna go. It'll go away eventually.
Well, it's uncurable.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's typically 3 to 5 year life expectancy. But
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not accepting that. But, so they were fortunate enough for me, they were able to remove that 25-pound tumor and send it off to all these different labs so they could test every type of chemo available, see which one reacted the best. Which normally if it's inside of it, yeah. And then if it doesn't work after so many months, they'll try something else. So this one was like as exactly as it could be. So they anticipated it shrinking it or controlling it. But my surgeon, when I met with him, he said that he's more excited about the fact that the density's changing, which is typically a sign of it dying. So that could be that 1 in a million. But this is like super
got a
rare.
file
It
in
could
his
be
hand.
just like the same thing. It's like super rare.
There you
They
go.
don't have like a whole lot of information on it, but forever. Forever. I'll take it every day forever. Until, like now, like they said, if it actually dies, they don't anticipate it dying, but if it does, then I would be off of it, but if it started to come back, I would start taking it again. Because they could only remove, about 25 pounds worth, but there was one like the size of a large apple on my abdomen and 4 on my liver. And that's what they've been monitoring, but they said it's shrunk a third in 4 months. Yeah, I mean, it's, right, and they're excited. My doctor's like, excited about the actual like shrinking and not just like maintaining, and the surgeon's excited about the density of the part.
Get shot down?
He has the image of it prior to coming out, a month after coming out, and then 5 months, 4 months on chemo. They said that typically your body on something like that would just dissipate it over time. He's like, but if it's going this fast, he's like, they might go in and try to remove it, but they don't want to open me back up and, the risk of infection and all that, but.
I will inform the,
I feel good, it's just,
I will inform the council that the reports that needed to be submitted to the State Board of Accounts by the 28th, which was the debt, and by the 29th, which was the annual financial report, were both filed on time. That's why I had a whole lot more hair before the last 6 weeks. But
Thank you.
and Baker Tilly was instrumental in getting those straightened out because they weren't getting straightened out. If you remember, Pete, if you remember the last December, we had a lot of transfers. And Steve, we had a lot of transfers to make zero balance, or to make negative accounts go away. No good deed goes unpunished with the State Board of Accounts. So I had to list it and list it and list it in three different places just to explain what I did. So, but that was done. So those were all done and filed timely, so.
Did you get your banner? Fifteenth of March, 15th of March. See, that's the 17th of the V. Tim, I think I told you we're only playing at the Legends. The Legends now every other week.
Okay.
What's that? Yeah, tomorrow night, definitely, yeah. 7 to 10. No, I'm sorry, 6 to 9 there. 7 to 10 at the V.
Yeah.
For a dance.
Did anybody tell that Randy was going to be here? They didn't know.
Somebody told me that. Was it you that told me
You
that?
talked to Brandy?
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause she texted me and she's like, who do I need to let know? I'm like,
I'm glad you didn't celebrate too much last 2 months.
Yeah.
reach out to Dawn or her.
She did send.
Oh, did you?
Me and Don an email.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, what?
So, and we both
Where'd you go?
responded to her.
I
I
understand.
talked to her earlier today and she was, sounded pretty rough, but then.
Back to the weight room.
Triple H in here, I don't want to be sick. That's why I know, but you're sick now.
Too much oleos.
Yes.
Did you have a front page, you
It's a
said?
long weekend.
Yeah.
That play was awesome, man.
I did. I saw it Saturday night.
Did you?
I laughed my tail.
Did you have,
Yeah, I went
did you have
last
a
Sunday.
front page you're gonna
Not
add?
this, not yesterday, or yesterday, the week before. Yeah. That's only the one
No, I
place
have-
I've been in.
I have the bottom. This is
I've
the
had
last
season
page.
tickets for like 5 years. And I don't miss
Yeah,
them. I've
okay.
only missed one in like 5 years.
I noticed Tim's got one here.
To where?
Oilton.
Oh,
Have you ever been?
Did you get a new phone?
I did.
one time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, good.
Oh, I've got the back.
He just come by and
It's okay.
Like this one that they had this weekend, it happened, he'll have the whole time, I paid for it.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
I've seen a couple of them, I'm like, eh.
Yeah, okay, I see.
The last couple I've seen have been like, I like the comedies. That's the first music I've seen in a long time. I wasn't a big fan of like the musical part of it, but. I know, you saw Brandy in lingerie. Like, that's something that you'll never get. Yeah, and under. Like,
Who?
yeah, Chris Brooks. I don't know him. Yeah, they're literally in Brandy's in lingerie.
That's funny.
It was until it got to that point. I don't know that it was funny.
It's 6 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and close this special meeting and open the regular meeting for the Peru City Council on March 4th, 2024. If you would please rise. Pete Sadechny will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation by Pastor Brent Wedding.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you for your goodness and mercy to us. We thank you for this city of Peru that we live in. We thank you for every policeman, fireman, every first responder, every business owner, every teacher and educator. We thank you for just the many people that work together to make this a great community, a great place to live. We pray that you'd bless this meeting tonight, the mayor, his attorney, our treasurer, our city council, that you would give them wisdom and help them to make decisions that are best for this city. We give you thanks in Jesus' name. And Lord, we also pray for Dave Moon. He's sick tonight and not able to be here. And Lord, we just pray that you would touch his body. He needs your miraculous touch, and we thank you in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Roll call?
Anderson?
Here.
Fisher?
Here.
Huber?
Here.
Murphy? Cy Dutchney?
Here.
Stevenson? Here. Ellery?
Here.
We'll have the reading and correcting of the Journal of the Minutes, regular meeting on February 5th, 2024.
I make a motion that we suspend the rules and adopt the minutes as written.
Second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Cy Dutchney?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
We'll now move into the committee liaison reports. We'll start with Councilwoman Ulrich.
Okay, the Civic Center, we met on February 15th. We discussed plans for upgrading the flooring in the living room area and also the furniture. And we also discussed finding some funding in the budget for help for Rebecca during the busier seasons for when she cannot attend. And also different options of marketing the Civic Center, such as Facebook, and she's planning to go to the Wedding Expo as well out at Milestone. It is also on the agenda for the Civic Center to revisit allowing alcohol on the premise to try to increase the amount of events that are held there. Also on February 15th, Tim Fisher and I attended the elected official session for the Miami County Community Foundation to determine our community's greatest concerns, aspirations, and opportunities for growth. It was a good conversation amongst the individuals that attended the session, and that session was one of 12 that the Community Foundation had hosted. So, the Planning Commission, we met on February 27th, and they voted on vacating the alley between 470 East Main and 472 East Main, which was passed, and it's now on the agenda for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Anderson?
Nothing to report.
Councilman Fisher?
It's liaison to the Board of Public Works. I attended the February 6th and February 20th meetings, and in those meetings, basically, there was approval of a proposal, $650,000 proposal with matching funds to accept a contractor to pave a number of streets, most of them in the Oakdale area this summer. Peru Utilities attended the February 7th and February 21st board meetings at those on the discussion of talked about dispensing old equipment and that was in relating to purchase of a new truck. There was a number of other discussions about rate tracker adjustments and so on. Miami County Economic Development Authority, known as Akita, I was invited to the elected officials council meeting on February 12th, and there was, a discussion about new projects and current events related to Makita. Also attended their monthly board meeting at Grissom to hear a lot of the same as far as development activities and conferences and miscellaneous meeting updates. Miami County Recycling District, I'm a liaison with that. I went to their board meeting on February 20th. Due to the closure of the recovery recycling facility up here by Hardee's, they've had a big increase in their activity out there at the recycling district. So they've added some additional bins and on the outside as well as the inside. So when the fence is closed for the weekend or evenings, that folks can still drop off their recyclables. Rediscover Downtown Peru, I'm a liaison with that, ex officio board member, and that met on February 22nd. Had some discussions there. Other liaison assignments, Committee on Wage Negotiation and Central Dispatch and Tax Abatement, we didn't have any discussions there. A couple other meetings, Erica mentioned about going to the Community Foundation listening sessions. Also attended on the 21st the Indiana Youth Institute's presentation on youth homelessness in Miami County. So there was a movie followed by a panel discussion, and that was put on by Miami County Youth Homelessness Coalition and the Miami County United Way and Northern Indiana Community Foundation were also partners in that. Attended Board of Appeals meeting on the 22nd in relation to a particular issue in my district. Couple of last things I'll just throw out there. January 31st, made contact with Building and Code Enforcement to talk about unsafe structure, which that was in the Board of Building Appeals. Also contacted Peru Traffic and Miami County Highway Departments about some conflicting street signage up on Duke Street, or Duke Street. Some says Duke and some says Dukes. So that was an inquiry that was made to me that I followed up on, as well as on February 7th, a rooster in my district was resolved after talking with code enforcement. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Councilman Sadecini?
Thank you. Just want to add a couple things on the Board of Works meeting on February 20th. Just so the public would know, it was a request by Diane Skillian to close the Riverwalk for the Helping Hands Walk for Hunger on Saturday, April 27th. So if you're be aware of that. And also a request from Chief Feller to hire Curtis Hubenthal as probationary patrolman at PBD. Miami County, just a couple items. They approved the sheriff contract for 2024. Seated shares, a new dump truck for $113,000. They purchase 2 every year. And also, there was discussion on the silo project. I think Jim will do a presentation later on that.
Thank you. Councilman Huber?
Yeah, I went this morning to the commissioners' meeting. We had the discussion was basically a couple major things. They were talking about making changes to the west entrance to help people with disability ramp so they can get in that west door because it's just stairs right now. And also, we talked about the Miami County Highway garage property on German Street. It looks pretty rough over there. They're working on it. They're cleaning it up. They are going to continue to use it. They've got sand and salt they store in there. They've got some equipment they store there. So it's not going to go away, but they are going to clean it up. It's going to look a lot better for the residents in that area. That's my commissioner's meeting report. The Peru Airport, I went out this morning and met with Kelly Wolf, who is the airfield manager, and Jim Clary, who's on the board. And some exciting news, things that are coming out there. From now to, it'll be completed in 2025, they are going to go in, they're going to excavate. There will be 7 new hangars out there. That's going to help a lot. There's not been big improvements out there in a long time. So we're hoping that's going to attract more business, more flyers in, and that's exciting. Also, there's some signage that's going to change. That's going to take place. I don't know how soon, but we want to put larger signs, one at County Road 100 North and US 31 by the RAMC, and also on US 24 and I believe that's 400 North. So people know that we do have an airport down the road, not just the little green sign. It's just not very obvious. So, that'll maybe direct some people that way. At least they'll know we have that. Went up and talked to Greg Douglas today. Again, I've talked to him a couple times this month. Some people that are going to the dog park, there are some people that use it regularly, almost daily, and they enjoy it. But when it gets hot, summertime, they need some shade. And he has a shade out there. It's a 10 by 10. I don't know, what did you call that, Don?
Cantilever.
A cantilever. So we need to get that installed and put in place. That'll be helpful so people can sit there while their dogs are playing. Also, just talked about some other improvements on the property. If you go back where the old pool was, the Miller Pool, just need to change some things back there, clean it up a little bit. And then also there are some people that are involved or interested in getting involved with volunteer work. So we're going to try to work on that. And my last liaison is with the Street and Sanitation Department, and I went and talked to Brian the other day, the department superintendent, and right now they're just working on still fixing chuck holes and those issues. But we did talk also, our garbage trucks are, they're getting old, they're getting hard to repair because of the age and the availability of parts for them. So they're going to be putting something together sometime in the future, or near future, about what it's going to cost to work towards replacing that equipment. It's going to be important, and we can't live without them. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Stevenson?
Met with Makita, and they spoke about the 4th Street project with a projected April 1st start date and a August 31st end date pending weather. E&B will be doing some work on that project. They will be putting a sidewalk on the east side, decorative lighting, and a traffic signal in there that is only active when there's traffic on 4th Street. And then with Peru Utilities, they approved a software upgrade, security upgrade, Grissom sewage service area rate study, and they have a new call center. That's all I have.
Thank you. Unfinished business. We'll now talk about the resolution we discussed at our 5:45 special meeting. So we'll need a motion to consider.
I make a,
Adopt. No, adopt.
Motion to adopt?
Yeah, we considered it last month.
Okay, so we need a motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt Resolution 224 to 2024.
I second.
Roll call.
You want any more discussion first? Mayor, do you want any discussion? We've got it.
Would
on
you
the
like
floor.
to have any more discussion?
No.
No, thank you.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Thank you, Kurt.
Stevenson.
No.
Huber.
Yes?
Dutchney.
Yes.
Anderson, or Fisher?
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Ellery.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. Okay.
Thank you. We're moving into new business now. We have some exciting things happening in the Peru Police Department. If Assistant Chief Venable will come forward.
I think everyone can hear me. So Chief Feller regrets that he's unable to attend today. He's put me in his stead, and Chief Feller can write fairly well, so he prepared something for me to address. It's my pleasure to introduce you to the newest addition of the Peru Police Department, Curtis Huppenthal. Curtis comes to us from rural Cass County. He's a 2020 graduate of Caston High School, and following graduation earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Indiana University, Kokomo. While in the criminal justice program, Curtis participated in an internship with the Indiana State Police at the Peru Post. In addition to earning his degree, Curtis also maintained employment throughout college. Curtis has a proven track record of dedication and hard work. He has successfully completed all these steps of testing to become a Peru police officer and emerged as our top candidate for our most recent testing. It is a great pleasure that I introduce to you and welcome Officer Curtis Hubenthal.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Curtis Hubenthal,
I, Curtis Hubenthal,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Indiana,
of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a patrol officer
as a patrol officer
of the City of Peru Police Department,
of
the City of Peru Police Department,
the City of Peru Police Department,
City of Peru, Indiana,
the City of Peru, Indiana,
according to the law
according to the law
and to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So,
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, moving right along. Colton? So currently, right now, Colton Pittner serves as a lieutenant. Well, he did serve as lieutenant. Colton Pittner was promoted from lieutenant to captain on February 17th. Colton Pittner is a 10-year veteran of the police department and currently serves as a captain in charge of the Peru Police Department Detectives Division. With his promotion, Captain Pittner will continue to oversee the operations in the Detective Division while absorbing the job duties and responsibilities of Captain Bill Raber, who retired on February 9th. In addition to Captain Pittner's duties as a detective, he serves as generalist instructor, firearms instructor, field training officer, and he is currently in charge of the field training program for new officers at the Peru Police Department. Captain Pittner is a graduate of McGonigal High School and earned his associate degree in computer science software development from Ivy Tech Community College. He is also a graduate of the 203rd session of the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. In addition to all of Captain Pittner's training and education, he is widely respected and regarded in law enforcement circles across north central Indiana. It's my pleasure to present to you Captain Colton Pittner to be officially sworn into his new rank.
I, Colton Pittner,
I, Colton Pittner,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Indiana,
of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as captain
as captain
of the City of Peru Police Department,
of the City of Peru Police Department,
City of Peru, Indiana,
City of Peru, Indiana,
according to the law
according to the law
and to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you for bearing with me. So I'm now introducing to you Lieutenant Josh Ulrich. Lieutenant Ulrich was promoted from sergeant to lieutenant on February 17th. He's a 17-year veteran of the Peru Police Department and currently serves as lieutenant of the Peru Police Department Detectives Division. During Lieutenant Ulrich's career, he has served as patrol officer, sergeant, shift lieutenant, and detective sergeant. In addition to investigating criminal offenses, Lieutenant Ulrich has served the department as a narcotics detective and is currently the Peru Police Department Pension Board Secretary, leading the hiring initiatives for the department. Lieutenant Ulrich is a graduate of Peru High School and is enshrined in the Peru High School Athletics Hall of Fame. He is also a graduate of the 163rd session of the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. In Lieutenant Ulrich's spare time, he leads the Peru High School baseball team as the head coach overseeing the baseball program for both high school and junior high student athletes. In addition to all of Lieutenant Ulrich's training experience, he is a widely respected and regarded detective and leader within the Peru Police Department. It's my pleasure to present to you Lieutenant Josh Ulrich to be officially sworn into his new rank.
I, Josh Ulrich. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution. Of the United States. And the Constitution. Of the State of Indiana. And that I will faithfully. And impartially. Discharge my duties. As lieutenant. Of the City of Peru Police Department. City of Peru, Indiana. According to the law. And to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Council. Mayor.
Thank you. Next order of business will be ordinance 3-2024, an ordinance to repeal and replace ordinance 16-2017. We have a motion to consider.
Did we skip 2?
I thought we approved that.
No, ordinance 2, that's what we had the public meeting about. There's a resolution 2 on ordinance 2.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So ordinance 2-2024.
An ordinance to amend ordinance 10, 2019. Need a motion to consider?
I make a motion we consider ordinance 2, 2024.
Kurt, what
Second.
we considered last month?
I don't think we did. We just, didn't we do it?
Just presented, I think.
We had it during the public hearing,
Did we have a public hearing on this one?
Mhm.
We just did it now.
We did.
so it'd be a motion to adopt. Because we would have considered, well, I mean,
I don't care.
it makes no difference, consider than adopt.
Okay.
Thought we already
I
considered.
didn't know, I didn't know we already did it. Okay. I'm sorry, who,
I
Steve
made the
and
motion.
Tim?
I made the motion.
Steve made the motion.
Yep, got it.
Second?
Second. Roll call. Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Sidashny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Ulrich?
Yes.
We're back on track now?
Yeah, opened up.
Well, that was, the motion was made to consider.
Right, now we need a motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2-2024.
Second. Any further discussion? Get a roll call. Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Sidashny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Ulrich?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Kurt.
No?
Next item of business is ordinance 3-2024, an ordinance to repeal and replace ordinance 16-2017. This has to do with the flood damage prevention ordinance. Need a motion to consider?
I make a motion to consider.
Second. Who was it?
Oh, me.
No, I got that. Who's the second? Okay. Anderson.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Huber.
Yes.
Sidashnik.
Yes.
Stevenson.
Yes.
Ellery.
Yes.
Haley, if you'd come forward, please.
So some of you might know me. I'm Haley Shuck, the zoning administrator and the floodplain administrator for the city of Peru. This ordinance is just an updated version of what the city already has in place. It's chapter 155, if you guys are aware of the ordinances. But it's needed to be updated for the compliance with DNR and FEMA, the FEMA regulations. So there's a little bit of different wording and a couple added and taken out, so. You guys have any questions?
Specifically, what was changed?
So I did see where they added a little more information on how to get the LOMARs, which is the letter of map revisions, or letter of map, sorry, I can't talk. To change like the floodplain on a parcel or a part of where construction is going. Then I know they took out like certain regulations that are a little more, like, I know one for sure is where if you take away dirt and then you have to put stuff in to make it, I don't know the wording exactly, but like, so it doesn't erode more if you're around like in the fringe area. There's things like that, so.
So could this potentially help out there in the Bloomfield area as far as any development? I mean, like, did it loosen any restrictions or did it make it harder?
A little bit of both, kind of.
I was going to say, more or less, kind of, for practical purposes, be about the same as what it is now. I was going to say, this is the model example put in place by the DNR and item. So this is what they are preparing for communities. Yeah, I mean, our hands are tied because it's also in statute. So.
Okay. Thank you.
I wish so.
Yeah, no kidding. I make
Thank
a
you,
motion,
Haley.
we adopt ordinance 3, 2024.
Second?
Anderson.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Huber.
Yes.
Sidashnik.
Yes.
Stevenson.
Yes.
Ellery.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item of business on the agenda is Resolution 3-2024, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Peru approving additional rules of procedure. Do you have a motion to consider?
Make a motion, we consider resolution 3-2024.
I'll second.
Oh, somebody has a question?
We got to get it on the floor first.
Yeah, okay.
Make a public comment on this.
Yeah. Anderson.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Huber.
Yes.
Sidashnik.
Yes.
Stevenson.
Yes.
Ellery.
Yes.
Do I have a discussion by the council?
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple comments. I feel like to limit the number of people that come up, you know, I don't think we should limit it. Why, if for some reason they can't get here any other way, and I feel they need to be heard, their voice is important. So if we had 10 people that wanted to come in, have a discussion, and we say, well, we're going to limit it to 6, and we let these other 4 people go, and they have just as much a right to voice their opinion as the other 6. Okay, then the other point, to limit, I don't like the 3 minutes, the 3-minute limit to voice their opinion. I mean, I was a school teacher, and I know that it's not always easy to get everything you want up front in 3 minutes. So I think that we should allow them to come up and speak their mind. And I feel like when the time's ready, we're going to know when it's time to move on. I don't think we need to set restrictions, all right? And I feel like if Congress passed First Amendment law, okay, you cannot abridge the freedom of speech. To me, that's almost moving into that area. And if we have to stay longer, okay, so we're serving the public, we're serving the community, is how I look at it. And so let's give the people who we serve faithfully and impartially, so that we send those 4 people out, that doesn't seem equal to me. Okay, so that's all I have
So
to
if
say.
this
Thank
was
you, Pete.
adopted, can we suspend those rules and allow more people to talk longer if the information wasn't there? And/or if we feel that somebody has more value to bring the top 6, can we suspend that and allow that to where it's not dictated to where we're only going to allow that amount of time? Because I do agree, but I also understand why this is being put into place, because you get the same people coming up telling the exact same story, and then 10 people later, it's still the exact same story. I'd like to get away from that, those 3-hour meetings of the same thing, but at the same time, I don't want to tell somebody, no, you can't speak because your 3 minutes are up and they haven't been able to finish what they were talking about. So even if we can maybe reword how that is, or utilize our right to suspend those rules and allow more people to speak if we feel that it's necessary, there's more information that we might have. Or we also always have that right to table it until next month, and those people, another group of people can come back and speak again if that's the way it is.
Any more discussion from the council?
I wanted to comment on the language here. I feel like if there's disruption, okay, so we give the person 3 warnings and then the law enforcement can intervene, I don't see why we even need to include that. I think our officers are well-trained. They've been through it. They know when to intervene. We have a good, strong police force. And again, I don't like that language either. I think, they know when it would be the right time to intervene if there is a major disruption. So I don't look at as a continuing discussion or dialogue is a major disruption. So, okay, that's all I wanted to add.
Whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, I do want to let you know, you said it's the people's right to be able to speak here.
Yes.
Technically speaking, under Indiana law, they have no right to speak at the city
Okay.
council meeting. The city council does not have to have or open up comments for public discussion. They do not have to allow the public to speak at a regular council meeting. That's what the public hearings are for in those situations, or reach out to your council member in your district prior to. Like I said, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, if you follow the law, they're not entitled to that.
Yeah.
But these rules are pretty common practice in other cities.
Yes, that, in fact, the state's adopting a policy very, very similar to this that will allow any municipality to do this.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what triggered this, was that the state did adopt, and we're kind of going by that. So this isn't something we've created on our own. It's based upon that. Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification, Dustin.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's
Yeah, thank you.
When I was
Thank
in
you.
your position, in Tim's position for 12 years, we didn't have a problem with people speaking, but I always said, does anybody have anything different to add? I didn't, like Steve said, I didn't want to hear the same thing over and over and over, and it seemed like we had that last year a number of times. And so you don't have, like, this is the way it's written, but people have to, I mean, especially with the Leonda park last year, we had a whole parade of people coming up with the same story, and it just didn't make any difference after you heard it 2 or 3 times. It was the same thing. So
Okay, so if they were put on the agenda, then that would be different case, right, Dustin?
I mean, someone can request
So-
to be added to the agenda, yes.
Yeah. So then they would be able to do a longer presentation if they felt they needed to, or?
No.
Here, yes.
It was just a matter of, like, last year, a couple of times you guys got got blindsided with the number of people that were brought into the council, and I said, it just kept, the same thing was repeated over and over and over again, so.
Right.
Right, there are a council member or two who would orchestrate that and disrupt the meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and there are things that people bring to the board, to the council, that the council has no control over or can't make decisions on.
Right.
Unfortunately, Leonda was one, and Square D was one, that we had no power to make decisions and enforce anything on either one of those situations. And you can bring 50 people up here, and I am sympathetic and I understand what you're saying, but if there's nothing we can do, all we can do is say, be sympathetic and understanding, but to beat it and beat it and beat it, eventually that's where, and some people did get heated, and that's where it's nice to have a guideline to say, listen, you got to settle down. They go again. You got to, listen, you're getting 3 chances here. If you can't keep it under control, we're going to have to ask you to leave, and we're going to help you. And I think it's important to have that so people know walking in what's expected, what kind of behavior is expected, and going forward, I don't think we'll have as many problems, and hopefully we won't anyway, but that gives us a guideline. I think it's a good idea.
I agree with Bobby, because I feel like we need to have it and to keep the meetings organized and, on topic. And we always have this to go back on when if those situations occur. So I agree with Bobby. I think it's important that we have something in writing.
Thank you. Did we have public comment?
Yeah, I got public comment on that.
Please come on up.
My name's, I'll get up here first, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Ansari. Actually, this is the reason I come to this meeting tonight, was to talk about this. Meetings like this are kind of hard for me to get to. I work a crazy shift. I got kids, so sometimes I'm not able to come to a meeting. I feel if it's an important enough issue that somebody makes the time to come here, we should hear from everybody. We shouldn't just limit it to just 3 people. 3 people at 3 minutes each. 9 minutes is what you're willing to give up as a council to hear from citizens about major decisions in your community. And how do we get to pick these people? I mean, is it going to be a race to see who can get here and sign up? I walked in 2 minutes before the meeting started. I had to get up out of bed, get here. I'm not going to beat anybody down here to be able to talk. Never will I beat a single person down here to be able to talk. I shouldn't have to race out my door just to be able to be heard. Now, we can, enforce decorum rules, but we shouldn't have to limit who we hear from. Now, I'm sorry that some of you don't want to hear stuff that gets repeated, but unfortunately, that's kind of the territory that you signed up for, right? Don't limit free speech in the sake of decorum rules. You can still enforce decorum rules without limiting who gets to speak. Let's say if I come in opposition, I'm in strong opposition of it. I'm a terrible public speaker. Maybe you're going to pick me. Maybe somebody's a better public speaker and you don't want them to speak. What's to keep you from not picking them, not letting them talk? But hey, you let those 3 people talk though, right? But that really good speaker over there, you didn't want him to talk. Could it not be manipulated to your advantage? That's all I got. Don't limit free speech. Don't limit the people. If people are making an effort to come here and speak, let them speak. If all you can give up is 9 minutes as a city council to your citizens, then maybe you're not in the right place. I mean, 9 minutes for major decisions, you got to listen to everybody. And that's what I come here today for.
There is a lot of options, though. I mean, you have your district, 2 other at-large positions that would meet with you, talk to you, try to get you when you cannot make it in here.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I appreciate that. Now, I had an issue myself where I reached out to every single member on this council, and I got replies from 2. I didn't get a reply from my own district representative. So then my only other option is now to come here. So now, once I didn't get any emails back from that I sent out, I rush up here, get out of bed. Oh man, I'm the 5th one on the list. Guess what? I don't get to talk. Sorry for me, right? Could you manipulate it? I'm sure you could. I'm sure you know who's against what before we come into the room. You've seen talk. You've seen people talk. You know who's going to be against something, who's going to be for something. Right now, I think I'm over 3 minutes. Probably by a lot. You shouldn't limit people. The time, I'm a terrible public speaker and I go on forever. But don't limit who can speak. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Well, is there, I do, sorry. Is there another way to reword this to where we still have that control, but like, we haven't even established to vote on this, how we would pick the people who get to speak? So that is very unclear, and before we make a vote on it, wouldn't it make sense to at least have all of those in order of how we do it? I mean, I'm 100% for getting these meetings controlled and not hearing the same things 50 times. I mean, we are concerned, but if it's the same story 10 times and there's nothing new to bring to the council, and if it's something that it's out of our hands, but I would like to see some sort of structure from what we've had. But if we don't even have it in place at this point to know how do we pick those people, I think that should be clarified before we make a vote on how we go about this. I mean, the time limit, if we could put, I guess if there's more information, we don't cut them off. Like I said, a timer up here. When they walk up, we hit a button. But at the same time, the part about who gets to speak, he brought up a very good point. If somebody can't make it here, it doesn't settle well with me.
I think we need guidelines, but not to limit it. To just say 3.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Do we have a proposal to table?
I make a motion to table it and maybe get that clarified of how we go about picking the people who get to speak, or if it is something that they can do through the clerk's office prior to the meeting, put their name down, or I don't know how else they do it in other places, but I'd like to at least find out.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to table Resolution 3, 2024. Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Dashni?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
Come back in April.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is additional appropriation resolution number 4-2024. We have a motion to consider.
I make a motion to consider resolution number 4, 2024.
Second.
Chief Dane, could you come forward?
Hang on, let me get through the consideration.
Oh, sorry.
Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Dashni?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
Good evening. I'll give you guys a copy of what we're going to be talking about here.
Thank you.
Right, got a reference back. You don't have to make notes.
Thanks, Chief. You want me to extra?
Whoops.
Good. So this resolution is to reappropriate some of the money that was left out of my budget for this year. My 440 account did not get funded in the line items. It's actually in my budget, but it's not a line item in my budget to where I can spend out of it. And then the remainder of the $129,000 and $129,532. $89,691 of that is for the new ladder truck. 12 voice pagers at $6,737. A generator for Station 2 that didn't get put in when it was built, $14,500. 3 sets of turnout gear for $10,604. And update our Class A uniforms. We're short about 12 of those for $8,000. Other than the 440 account, that was all stuff that should have come out of last year's budget. It didn't get done at the end of the year, so now it's forced into our budget for this year. I don't have the money within our budget this year to fund these purchases, And with the new ladder truck and stuff and the equipment and the need for a generator at Station 2, that's why the additional appropriations need to be made so they can get the money into the budget. So, questions?
Yeah, Chief, just, I know 89,000 is a lot of money, but can you maybe identify some of the equipment for that?
For the ladder truck?
Yeah.
Yes, the ladder truck, like we talked about all along, we're running that as a backup engine. So if one of our engines go down, we have that as our backup engine, plus we're running it on all structure fires within the city limits of Peru. So with that being said, we had to put all of our rescue tools on it, and a set of HRSA E-hydraulics is $42,000 and some change. Out of that, $89,000. We had to put all the portable fans on it, all the battery-powered saws, and plus update, we were short about 10 air bottles to supply that truck, which the air bottles alone was $12,000 for 10 air bottles. So that's all the equipment.
Yeah.
Basically, there was no more robbing from one truck to put another truck into service. We needed to replace hose, and we needed to update that truck to the next generation. Everything on this new truck will be battery operated, so we don't have any gasoline powered equipment on this truck. State of the art stuff, and that's kind of the way the fire service is moving towards. Well, it all comes with a price. The battery powered stuff is nice, but it's also a lot more expensive than what we were spending money on, 3 or 4 years ago. Just for instance, the Hearst tools alone went up $6,000 from November to February this year. So just like everything else, it's just the equipment's sky high.
Yeah. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
And I will take responsibility for the $300,000. I just missed putting on. I just flat out missed putting in the last year's budget. This year's budget that I prepared last year. Just spaced it. So that'll come back next month for approval.
So that'll be on our agenda in April, correct? Thank you. Next item is ordinance 4-2024, an ordinance to vacate a north-south alley in the city of Peru. Motion to consider?
I make a motion to consider ordinance 4 for 2024.
Second. Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Saidachny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
All right, so the Peru Plan Commission met on February 27th and had a discussion about vacating this north-south alley between the properties of 470 East Main and 472 East Main. And they recommend vacating the alley with a vote of 6-0. Are there any questions?
I do have one question. I was at that meeting, and there was someone that had asked, because I know on the one end of the alley, there's a garage that only has access within the alley. And, they said that there's no, but is there, would that be in like writing, or I just don't know how to make it so that they couldn't put a fence up and say, oh, now you can't have access to that side of the garage?
So legally, they're not allowed to put a fence up.
Okay.
Since they need access from the east-west alley into the
Yeah.
north-south alley. So unless they did it only on half of it.
Okay.
Because the way it gets vacated is they're usually 10-foot alleys. 5 foot goes to the one neighbor, the other 5 foot goes to the other neighbor. Now, if the neighbors have an agreement where one wants to buy the other half from the other one to use it as a driveway, they can do that.
Okay.
But technically, they can't block anybody from accessing their garage or their property in any way.
Okay.
So is the person that had the issue on the other road, or do they have options to buy half of that property?
It's on the other end of the alley.
So that person wouldn't have any say in who buys that property if they decide to close that off completely?
I don't think I understand what you mean.
So the person that has a concern about their access,
Right.
It-
So I don't think anybody's going to want to block access to the north end of that north-south alley because both garages face the alley. They're garage doors. So I don't think anybody on either side is going to want to block that access.
but could they legally, or would that be something that they could not do because of the other person?
They're not, no, legally they can't.
Okay.
Any more discussion? We have a motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 4, 2024.
Second.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Huber,
Yes.
Syedashny,
Yes.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Hillary.
Yes.
Next item on our agenda tonight is ordinance 5-2024, an ordinance to amend section 92.01 and 92.05 of the City of Peru Code for ordinances. This has to do with containers for trash and trash can racks. Bill, will you come forward, please?
I make a motion, we
Oh, sorry.
consider ordinance 5/2024.
Second. Who's that? Who seconded?
Me.
Okay, thank you. Anderson,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Huber,
Yes.
Syedashny,
Yes.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Hillary.
Yes.
Come on, Bill. Come on down.
The idea behind having the ordinance cover things like the trash can rack has to hold all the trash cans, and you have to put your trash cans in the trash can rack. So the ordinance, the only real changes are additions. That the receptacles were fine and everything, but what I was finding was empty trash can racks and 10 trash cans all over the yard. Or you're finding, no trash can rack, or these folks here, they were concerned about having to put a trash can rack in the front of their property because of a change in the ordinance. That's not an issue. It's only where, in the alleys where the racks are required. And so, and asking for a little bit more specific structure on the trash can rack, so the folks doing the collections are not having to, the front of the trash can won't be totally covered, like all the way up to where they got to pull the trash can completely out of a rack. Because sometimes they'll build that trash can rack all the way up to the top of the 30-gallon. And that would be really hard, especially for a little chubby feller like me to pull that out of a trash can rack. So if you read through it, see how it's built, it should help the folks that are doing the collection and keep the alleys a lot cleaner. You don't have a lot of empty trash can racks with trash cans laying all over the property. Plus, there was never anything in that ordinance that said you have to keep your trash cans in the rack or how many trash cans you could have. So there is really no limit on trash cans, but your rack has to be big enough to maintain those trash cans and keep them in the rack to clean up the alleys, and that's the goal of it. Any questions?
Yep, so this gets passed, how do we go about the ones that already have theirs, and they, you got a dimension here of no more than 18 inches? Is it 20, somebody going to come in and tell them they have to buy a brand new one, or is there going to be like, oh, we're going to have the trash can patrol going down the alleys, and like everybody in Peru has to get them to this, or is it just from here on out?
It's a good question.
I mean, because obviously there's a lot of violations, and I know this is the right way to start from here on out, but somebody that already has one, that if it doesn't meet those requirements, are we gonna fine them, or are we gonna not pick up their trash due to something they've had for 20 years, that there wasn't an ordinance telling them they had to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, I don't disagree with this, but at the same time, you know, if there wasn't anything in place, they're not in violation.
Right.
Bill, I had a comment. So, as I look at it, okay, the objective of the street department, garbage people, is to pick up trash. They pay for it. They pay for that service. So, are you suggesting here that you're not going to pick up trash if it's not on the garbage rack, but it's in the barrel? Let's say they've got six.
Am I suggesting that?
No, I'm saying, well, whoever.
Or the street, oh, I wrote this. yeah.
Okay, you wrote it. So, well.
I
and
thought it
then-
sounded really good.
Okay. Well, okay, so I see maybe a potential problem. Privacy fence across the alley from my house. There's no room for a garbage rack. Okay, it's going to jut into the alley. So what are you going to tell that person? Move your fence up? They've got,
No, I'm not
very
gonna tell them
very neatly, they have 6 barrels stacked right behind the privacy fence. So I would think that the city would still want to pick up that trash,
I would think they would too.
right? So that's why there seems to be some loopholes in the language, like Steve was saying, maybe.
I don't disagree, that it definitely needs to be addressed, because I understand what you guys go through. I see it down the alleys, and it's just trash everywhere. But I don't know how to go about getting an ordinance like this and not giving everybody an opportunity to fix their stuff, or if they don't have that option, because there's a lot of them I've seen with restaurants and stuff, there's not enough room for trash can racks. They just kind of pile it all over there in the corner, because there's so many people that use that same spot, because anybody on Main Street or Broadway does not have trash can ability, because
Right.
they don't have an alley. So there is a mess over there that I agree with, but I don't know how to go about that without pointing the finger at somebody else, because there is not enough property to be able to put trash can racks there,
Right.
because the buildings are right on the alley.
And that makes sense. I mean, I guess using some common sense in this is a valid point to make. If you don't have a large enough portion of your alley to put a trash rack, it probably wouldn't be a safe idea to put a
Right.
trash rack.
Yeah, because if you force them into it and they put it there, now what do we do? Trash can trucks run them over down the alley.
So the goal of this was just to clean up your alleys. That was the goal. The idea was also to help the collectors to not have the racks that are like 50 inches high or whatever, and the trash cans are up in the air. I don't know if they like it that way. I guess that's the street department, you know. I've talked to them, and they seem to be pretty agreeable to a certain height limit. And
And Bill, this doesn't change the fact that they need, in alleyways, they need to have a rack. That's already established.
Right.
This just sets ground rules for it. And right now, like, you and I spoke, somebody received a violation letter saying if they didn't have a rack, and the city would provide a rack for them and charge them $150. And is that rack fall within these guidelines? Okay.
Well, now, Tim, was it required to have a rack? So, Bill, I have a property, there's no alley. So I stack my barrels out by Wayne Street, and they've done a great job. So I don't feel I need to have a garbage rack. I don't have an alley.
Yeah, this is,
Right, and there's a few, Oakdale's my district, I've seen a lot of situations like that. I don't think you can go around tagging people for that.
yeah, I think I mentioned that right at the beginning, that if you currently have a curbside pickup, or
Right,
these folks here were concerned with having to get a garbage rack, and they don't have an alley,
Yeah.
so they put it in the front of their home, That's in the ordinance too, but that's not a part I rewrote or anything.
Okay.
I didn't add anything to it or take away from it. You can still put your trash out
Okay,
there.
then it seems like that this language is a little harsh Any garbage racks that are dilapidated and not in compliance with definition 92.01 will be repaired or removed and replaced at owner's expense. Why don't we do what Lafayette does, provide garbage racks to everybody, or they got the blue tubs, recycling tubs.
You.
No, I'm just saying, so in the case, all right, where people already are paying $40 more a month for water and electricity, and then you're going to require that they spend $100 or $150 for another garbage rack?
Am I?
I mean, is the city, going to require that?
It'd be up to you.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't like that language. And I think I'd like to table this, so maybe we can review it.
So we have a motion to table?
Did you make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we table it.
Second. I would just like to be able to, I'm 100% on board with all of these rules, but we need to define how we're going to do it from here on out. So, the dilapidated, that's already in there. You have to have one, and if you're not going to fix it, then I understand that part of it. But if mine's new and I accidentally build it a little bit out of specs, I don't want to be stuck with that $125 bill, but I do agree that they need to have a rack. They can't be sitting outside. They need to have a proper one, but need to define how we do this from here on out for one of the people that already have them. And give them at least an amount of time to work on getting those fixed, because I agree, the ones that are this deep, it's not fair for them guys to have to reach down in there, you're going to hurt somebody's back. So no, I don't disagree with that, but because there wasn't any stipulation prior, I don't know how we go about with Dustin. Is this something that, how do you do when there's already there's nothing in place and then you establish a new rule?
In other words, can you grandfather in?
Right, that's something like a grandfather in, or give them an X amount of time to start working towards that goal.
Into that.
Yeah.
So we have a motion to table in a second?
Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Sayedashny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
Next item on our agenda is Resolution 5-2024, a resolution establishing rate tracking factor for the municipal electric utility of the city of Peru, Indiana. Do I have a motion to consider?
I make a motion to consider Resolution 5, 2024.
Second?
Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Sayedashny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
Howdy.
Hey, Josh.
See you guys again. So for review, the tracker that we do quarterly on the electric is the straight pass-through of energy costs and demand costs from our supplier, Indiana Municipal Power. It is not to gain more revenue for salaries, projects, any type of O&M, and it's only a pass-through for energy costs. And this is a common practice with every utility in Indiana, even Duke and AES. And Duke has probably 15 riders from month to month on their tracker, and so this is a common thing. So for this tracker, finally, everything is a decrease. Every customer class is a decrease. Small, but it's not an increase. And I always like to kind of give a comparison what our rates are compared to others. Duke, their current rate is almost 8% higher than Peru. Heartland REMC, which is Wabash, 12.6% higher than Peru. Miami Cass REMC is 8% higher than Peru. NIPSCO Electric is 28% higher than Peru. And AES Indiana, which is in Indy area, is 24.8% higher. That's for a basic residential service at 1,000 kilowatts. That includes the customer charge. Questions I can answer?
So, Josh, is
Yes,
there, I mean, that's cool, it's going down. I mean, like you said, even a little helps.
Even a little.
Now, is that going to be trending for the rest of the year?
Oh, I doubt that. I mean,
No,
it's so
it's hard to
volatile.
tell.
Energy costs are so volatile
Yeah.
throughout the markets, and a lot of it has to do with administration, federal administration, our elected officials, what type of money they want to spend on renewable projects, and how that impacts our overall load and our overall cost of that load. Hopefully it continues, yes. Cross our fingers.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, when I was attending the Peru Utility Board meeting, there's a number of factors, just like you said, that factor into this rate. So it's something it's hard to predict. Although you have made some predictions, 20-year predictions, correct?
Correct. And those are just based on current administration laws, rules, EPA regulations, and so.
For those new to the council, we established this back when I was on the council 20 years ago. They used to have to do a rate study periodically, and it'd go 3, 4, 5 years, and then the rate study was thousands of dollars. And so we thought that it would be wise to do this on a quarterly basis. The city council would have to approve those rate charges anyway after they did the rate study, but we're cutting out the charges for somebody to do a study and just adjust it every quarter. And it's worked fine for 15 years, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And current rate study is around 30,000, and, 30 to 50, depending on what you get into, and it takes about a year and a half, so we'd never catch up, even if we did one every year, true up what the actual cost of energy is.
The tracker and CPI index are included in the ordinance, so.
Not on the electric, yeah.
I make a motion, we adopt Resolution 5, 2024.
Second. Anderson.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Huber.
Yes.
Saidachny.
Yes.
Stevenson.
Yes.
Ulrich.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution 6-2024, a resolution establishing rate tracking factor for the City of Peru municipal water supply. A motion to consider?
Make a motion, we consider Resolution 6, 2024.
Second.
Yep. Drew, second.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Huber.
Yes.
Saidachny.
Yes.
Stevenson.
Yes.
Ulrich.
Yes.
Okay, we call this electric, or the water tracker, but it is an annual consumer price index utility study that is required by City Ordinance 28-2016. That's for Peru water. Grissom Water has a different ordinance. And the reason for this is that I believe Peru was something like 18 years from an actual extended increase in operations and maintenance. And it was significant. It was 56% in 2016, 57.8, excuse me, in 2016. So we put the CPIU into effect as an annual thing so that we don't have a 57, 58% increase in a one big hit for our utility rates on the water side. It's been going on since 2017. For 2018, it was 2.6%. 2019 was 1.8%. 2020 was 1.2%. And by 1 and 2%, we're talking less than $1 for a 3,000-gallon home. So it's kind of working that way. How we designed it, 2022, obviously, the CPI was ridiculous. That was at 5.4%. In 2023, it's 4.8%. And this year was 3.3%. So what we do is when we calculate that, we actually take all of our one-time expenses that aren't a normal O&M expense, and we back that out. So the CPIU actually from the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, we kind of talked about in our informational meeting, this is not a calculation that we do or we have. This is information from the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, and this is what they've said could be common practice, and that's what we've adopted. So this year, the labor index was 4.29% increase. Industrial power was up 9.4%, which we're all feeling that. But industrial chemicals actually dropped off 8.5%. So that was a positive effect on what the overall rate would be. And the CPI was 3.35%. So the weighted average of that was 4.1% is what the IURC gave us. And this is their calculation, not ours. We don't do the calculation on that. So then we back everything out. That's a one-time charge, and we put that to O&M and our fixed charges. So that ends up being 3.3%. So for Peru, the Peru residents, it's 17 cents per 1,000 gallons. That's the increase on your usage. Any questions I can answer on that?
So that's on top of the increase that we're already having because of the project?
So water and wastewater are two different utilities. This is just water. So water has to pay for water and wastewater has to pay for wastewater. We don't intermingle funds. Can't. It's against the state statute.
I make a motion, we adopt Resolution 6, 2024.
Second. Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Saidachny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
No.
Next item on the agenda tonight, Resolution 7-2024, a resolution establishing rate tracking factor for the City of Peru Municipal Water Utility located at the Grissom Aeroplex Service Area. Motion to consider?
I make a motion to consider Resolution 7-2024.
Second. Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Saidachny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
So same but different utilities. This is Grissom Water Utility. Grissom Water Utility has to support itself. They collect no funds from any other utility. We started this in 2020. So 2020, 2021 was 1.1%, 22 was 5.2%, 23 was 4.8%, 24 is 3.3%. So again, this is required by ordinance number 24, 2019, and their increase is 22 cents per 1,000 gallons. And this, in 2018, we had for residential customers, we had a 90% increase, and overall it was 126% increase for Grissom, because that was in such poor shape.
Discussion by the council?
Thank you.
If not, we need a motion to,
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 7, 2024.
Second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Saidachny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
thank you. Next on the agenda is a presentation by Jim Tidd from Makita giving an update on the Forest Street project.
Jim?
Good evening. I'll be as brief as possible because I know you've had a lot of action items tonight, but this one is just for information. So thanks for allowing us to be on the agenda tonight. Wanted to kind of give you an update on this project that is very exciting for the city, I believe. And this is the Forest Street Rehabilitation Project. This was funded through Ready One grant. It's a $2.75 million project. With that, it involves the widening, as Drew mentioned, involves the widening of 4th Street. It involves decorative street lighting, sidewalks on basically the east side, and it does involve a traffic signal at Forest and Main based on a traffic study and everything that we were able to get done. The start date on this is April 1, and we're projecting a completion time by August 31st. We developed this informational pamphlet to provide copies to the YMCA for their membership. I think City Hall upstairs in the mayor's office has copies of it as well. And we'll get these distributed to other places as well. But the main part of this is to kind of point out not only the project time, but also the detour routes that we have identified for this project. So as you can see on the inside, the map that shows the actual construction area. And so everything along Forest Street from Main down to the entryway to the YMCA over to basically Maple Avenue, and then a little bit on the east section of 2nd Street is going to be basically in the construction area. We will always maintain accessibility to the Y. Matter of fact, this map was coordinated with the YMCA. So there will always be access either down Park or up until project begins on 2nd Street. There would actually be that accessibility there, or going all the way around and coming into the YMCA off of Park, making the loop down through West City. And then also from the east, the 2nd Street would also be available. The intent here is you see that little red area where they're going to put in a access into that gravelled lot, which will then have access directly into the YMCA paved area. So again, we'll be happy to answer any questions or concerns that the council might have. Again, we're getting ready to start construction on this April 1.
I've had this one brought to my attention. On Forest Street, there's a house between 2nd and 3rd that their parking is on basically this. Will they still have access to that, or are they going to lose that?
They're parking now in the city's right of way.
Right, that's what I
So
mean.
that's not, yeah, that's not their.
So they're going to lose their parking.
But they'll still be able to park on 2nd Street or 3rd Street, whatever that is.
But they believe that they have garage access from that, so you guys will have something to get into.
We'll
the
have
garage
something
for
for the garage to
Answers
get
my
into,
question.
but where they're parking at, that's all going to be sidewalk and decorative lighting leading down to the
So they'll have it
YMCA.
just over the top of their sidewalk to get into their garage. Okay.
And Jim, there's going to be a light, right, at Forest?
At Forest and Main.
Okay.
Mhm. And as Drew pointed out, it'll only be activated when there's physically traffic on 4th Street.
Right.
Otherwise, it'll stay green for Main.
Gentleman back here has a question.
Why when the project is completed, apparently, 2nd Street will have, in effect, an S-turn onto the new section of 2nd Street? Why wouldn't it be straight line?
Well, because we're hoping for the next phase of Phase 2 is to actually bring what is 2nd Street to the east, bring that down to coincide with the new 2nd Street. So it will be a straight-through intersection. That'll be in Phase 2 project.
I see. Second question, at Forest and West Main, Forest Street doesn't go straight, so somebody, if they want to go across Main Street, as I come through, they will have a bit of an S-turn. It still could be done, I assume.
They do now.
Yeah.
So we're not realigning 4th Street. The same roadway is going to be there, it's just going to be all rehabilitated with new foundation and pavement. So the way they have to dodge a little bit with that offsetting intersection there to go across Main onto Forest is still going to be the same.
I see.
Jim, during this temporary, you have a temporary entrance, that's going to, they'll be able to come down, people that work at the YMCA, for example, come down or come down Canal to get to the YMCA, right?
Yeah, they'll come down to Y or down 2nd Street, same as they do now. It's just
Okay.
they won't be able to enter onto Forest Street. They'll come into that parking lot where that new extension in red, that temporary entrance is identified.
Thank you.
Or they can go all the way around Park and come in on
Yeah, I
the
see that,
entryway
yeah.
off of Maple into the YMCA. And the other thing that we're doing is taking out that 90-degree turn that exists now at the end of Forest, where you have to make that 90-degree turn to go on to Second. So that'll all become more of an angled, as we show here on this diagram. And then hopefully, if we can work it out with the YMCA may need additional parking. So we're looking at trying to work something with the YMCA to transfer that ground that we'd be vacating there, taking out that 90 for some additional parking for the YMCA. Other project I'd mention real quick, Broadway Landing, which is the extension of water and sewer and roadway into the Broadway development area. Advertisement for bids went out. So we'll be looking at a bid opening on March the 27th. And we hope to have a contractor under contract yet sometime before summer, and work starting in the summer on that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next item on the agenda is a presentation by Linda Johnson, representing Guardian Advocates, updating the council and the mayor on residents' health in Peru and Miami County and resource needs. Apparently, Linda's not here.
Got a request, I guess we can.
Thank you. Then we'll go on to the next agenda item. We have a late addition to the agenda, and we do need a motion to modify the agenda to add consideration and adoption of this ordinance that's late coming in. We need a motion to modify the agenda.
I make a motion to modify the agenda.
I second.
Who was second? Sorry. Who was second? Thank you. Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Dashny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
So the next item that was added late is ordinance 6-2024. It's an ordinance to establish a non-reverting enhanced access fund. We need a motion to consider.
I'll make a motion to consider ordinance 6, 2024.
Second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Dashny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
Real quick, all that is creating a fund in which when we receive a fee for the law enforcement recordings, as the ordinance we just amended previously, those fees are supposed to go into a special fund used to buy future cameras and inhibit and promote enhanced access to public records. It's consistent with that ordinance.
Any discussion about this?
Yes. Where does the money go right now when you have?
It's just been going to the general fund and the, education fund. Which, if you look at Indiana code, it needs to go to its own special non-reverting.
I'll make a motion, we adopt ordinance 6, 2024.
Second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Huber?
Yes.
Dashny?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Hillary?
Yes.
Last thing we have showing is communications. Anybody have any further communications from the council or the audience?
Yeah, I do. This will be my last council meeting, so I resigned, so effective at the end of next week. So, need to take care of my health.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you, Kurt. Sorry to hear that.
Mr. Rucker?
I don't really have any voting rights in the city, although I own property here, and you usually see me here. There was an ordinance that got passed tonight that the flood damage prevention was at 2/22/2024, and I'm sure that Mr. Kern probably is very familiar with it because he probably writes a lot of this stuff up. However, I did notice it was a 28-page document. I don't know if I didn't notice this in the newspaper because I don't typically buy the paper unless I'm on the front page. And 28-page document, I have no idea what it is. I'll read it, but it got passed in any case, and I'm counting on the council to make informed decisions on passing ordinances, and it didn't seem like anybody really had any real information on it. Haley does a great job at trying to let us know what the Planning Commission has made recommendations for, and it's a lot for her to keep up with, I'm sure. So, but she can't do all of that. I know we gave a lot of consideration to trash cans. We gave a lot of consideration to Robert's Rules of Order. A 28-page document here, it seemed like we would give similar consideration to, and it just got passed, and I don't know as if anybody really knows what got passed. And I see that happen occasionally where things, we're not 100% clear what we're passing. So we out here are counting on you to make best decisions for the community. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anything further? If not, need a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
In favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay.
We're out.
Meeting's adjourned.
Okay.